You can learn a lot about trucking by serving 10 companies, but you learn everything when you serve multiple hundreds of companies. Patterns start to appear. You see habits that repeat. And the companies that thrive look very different from the companies that struggle, but not for the reasons most people assume. Today, I'm sharing the lessons I've learned from being inside the payroll and operations more than 300 trucking companies. We'll talk about the traits that help fleets grow, keep drivers, stay profitable, and avoid chaos, and the habits that quietly hold others back. And you might be surprised by which lessons matter more than most. This is Driven for Success, the podcast for trucking company owners who want to run smarter, more profitable businesses without drowning in back office stress. I'm your host, Mike Ritzema, founder of Superior Trucking Payroll Service, where we help fleets run clean payroll, stay compliant, and keep drivers paid and happy. Normally, here we have a question of the week, but this week we're just going to talk about being thankful. And what I mean by that is it's Thanksgiving week next week when this airs. And, of course, I'm thankful for all the drivers. And I don't want to say it goes without saying because it does go without saying, but it shouldn't go without saying that, those drivers working on this week, you know, being away from their families on Thanksgiving Day to make sure that everybody gets what they need are incredible. They just are. But they're not the only ones working. A lot of dispatchers have to at least check in and solve a problem because trucks break down. They don't care if it's a holiday or not. The truck fails when it fails, right? There's mechanics that have to come out and fix trucks on the holiday. There's all these other people who still have to work on the holiday too. And I just want them all to know that I thank them for doing that to keep, it sounds trite, but to keep America moving. But it's really for me, I get fresh food because of these guys and women. They're the people that do all this for me. The drivers, the dispatchers, the shop people, all of them. So I just wanted to say thank you to them instead of doing a question this week because Thanksgiving is one of the biggest family holidays of the year, and some of them have to miss out on part of it. So I want them to feel appreciated about that. But let's go on to today's main focus here. You know, we see a lot of trucking companies and we see a lot of different things, and everybody thinks their own company is normal. That's just the way that people are. It's the human existence, really. But they're not. And so normal can be better than what you think normal is. And I wanted to share these things because it can be better. And so I wanted to share about what makes a trucking company successful and in kind of the global sense. And success is, as we talked about, more likely to be profitable. And you're going to have losing months, but more likely to be profitable, lower driver turnover or churn, and low drama. When you walk into their office, you don't feel like it's an active tornado drill. You feel like it doesn't have to be a library, but it could be a library. It's that kind of calm. I had years ago, I was at a payroll colleague who explained to me that he felt like the value of employees were the productivity they give you minus 3 times the drama. And that always stuck with me, Josh, who said that to me, because I think it's true. There's a value in low drama and not just in the employee level, in the company level. There's a value in not having all the chaos. But now how do these companies that have more profit than most and have low driver turnover and have low drama, how do they do it? It's it's a word I don't want to use, but I'm going to use, and it's culture, it's identity, it's all those kinds of things. And so you might be thinking, oh, this is going to be a company culture lecture. It is not. It kind of is, but it's not in the way that you think it is. It's not ping pong tables and singing kumbaya and sharing our deepest, darkest secrets. It's none of that. That's not what it is. But I can give you a couple of things that it really is. For us here at Superior Trucking Payroll Service, it's mission and mindsets. You can call them different things. You can call them boundaries and community if you want. That's the mission is the thing. It's the North Star. It's what we use that's central to all our decisions that we make strategically. For us, our mission here at Superior Trucking Payroll Service is to help trucking families. So when we decide, are we going to try a new initiative? Are we going to, try and sell this product? Are we going to not sell this product? Then we ask ourselves, does it help trucking families? And it can't be the single only thing. Obviously we have to keep the lights on, but if it doesn't help trucking families, we're not going to do it. There's just no way. If we get people peddling products to us all the time that say you should sell this to your clients, and it's always, to me, does it help trucking families? It's never, oh, do I get a big commission on it? I'm sure there are products I could sell for a big commission, but they're not good for my clients. They're not good for our clients. They're not good for the employees of our clients. So we just won't do it. And there are some things that are good for our clients, and so we will. They will help trucking families. It's never about how much we get paid on it. We don't get paid that much. I get lunch, I think, for one of the things, like once a month. That's about it, and that's okay. But it helps trucking families, so that's really the thing. Your mission or your community should be something that unites all of the employees that you want. They should all believe in it. And so for us, we tell people right in our job ad, for example, that our mission is to help trucking families. And if they go, well, that sounds dumb, well, then they don't apply, or we weed them out right away. Your mission should be yours. My personal advice is I don't recommend that you make your mission. Make the owner really wealthy on the backs of everyone else, no matter what you have to do. And if that's your mission, that's fine. Good luck. You're going to need it. It's not going to go well. To build something long-term, to build something low drama, we have to have everybody, rowing the boat in the same direction, right? So this is how we do it. We say everything is, let's help trucking families. When we define trucking families as everybody that works at a trucking company and their families, it's the drivers, it's the office people, it's the owners, it's the shop people, it's the compliance people, it's all of it. You're all trucking families to us. So that's the mission. You should have your own mission. It could be, I'm going to make up missions here. You don't have to use these. It could be to be the best reefer carrier to Florida from wherever you are. It could be to solve any problem anywhere for anyone in trucking. There's somebody who that can be their mission. Of course, obviously they're going to be very expensive because they can solve all these things. The mission could be, we want to give the next generation a better life or something like that. It doesn't have to be directly related to the business, but it should be something where you would ask the question, when you're thinking about doing something new or not doing something anymore, does our mission align with that? The second part of it was the mindsets, and the mindsets build to the mission, but they're easier to recognize in the day-to-day. Here at Superior Trucking Payroll Service, we have 6 mindsets. They're always be helpful, constant never-ending improvement, be positive, fix it with a level head, take ownership, and invest yourself in each other. Those are the things that we value here. Those are the primary things. And if somebody's not doing one of those things, we call them out on it as quickly as we can. You can be really good at your job, but if you're missing the mindsets, then it's just not going to work out. And I bring that up because you can use this with your drivers. Driver churn is a big deal. Even at a time when we're not talking about driver shortage as much, driver churn is still an issue. It costs you time, it costs you money, it costs you productivity. You've got a truck sitting there empty for however many days or weeks. All these things cost money, and they're all friction in what you're trying to get done. So if like for the mindsets, if you have mindsets for your company, and you can articulate them, they don't have to be profound, but they should be clear, then you can have those too. And you put them in your ad and you say, our mindsets are, we're always going to look like a professional. We're always going to be on time. We're always going to be courteous, or whatever the things are, right? You decide. It's your company. You decide what they are. You decide the things that are important. Anywhere between 4 and 7 of them are good. Well, the nice thing about them too is that I know in my previous employment, I would have to do employee reviews, and we just did the performance appraisals or whatever you want to call them. And if we had an employee with an attitude problem, it was always hard to articulate where they went wrong, because they would want to litigate it with you and they would want to fight with you about it. And I never wanted to have that argument. And so with the mindsets, I can say, For example, if someone was just flew off the handle all the time, I could now say, well, you struggle with fix it with a level head, and this is where I see it. And they can agree or disagree, but that's really too bad because it is what it is, and we have to work to be better at it. So if you do that with your drivers in the same way, you can give them constant feedback on that and say, hey, you did a really good job on, I'm going to use my mindsets, but again, make yours yours. You did a really good job on be positive in that situation, but I need you to take ownership more. I needed you to acknowledge that you were part of what could have made that problem go away, and you weren't, or that you're going to make it better next time, or how you're going to improve, or something like that to make sure that that problem doesn't happen again. Just something like that. And if you do that, you're going to know which drivers you want. You're going to be able to screen them better, which is really a big thing because a lot of problems in a trucking company start with making a bad hire in the first place. The drivers you want are going to see your list of your mindsets and go, that's the company I want to work for. And they're going to be able to do it. And by the way, your interview is, which you should be interviewing. Can't speak for everybody, but I know a lot of trucking companies basically just make sure they're qualified. When you interview them, talk about the mindsets. One of the things we do in our interviews is I'll pick a mindset out and I'll go, give me an example of the last time that you had to fix something with a level head that wasn't easy. And they'll tell me. And if they just kind of stammer and go, I don't know that ever happened. Well, okay, maybe you're not for us. And that's okay. You're going to be great for somebody else. That's part of it too. Drivers, there's not a universal scale of good to bad driver. It's not linear. It's all over the place. It's a 4-dimensional map, or however you make one of those. And who's a good driver for you may not be a good driver for someone else, and who's a good driver for someone else may not be a good driver for you. So knowing what you want and what you expect, it's going to save you a lot of drama and a lot of driver churn. And I can't overstate that. If you get nothing else out of this podcast, even the whole set of podcasts that we're doing, set of episodes, get that, and you're already way ahead. Know who you are, and everything gets simpler. And when you know who you're not, and by that also the people that aren't right for you, the wrong people will filter themselves out. And that's how you build a strong driver fleet and a strong office fleet for that matter too, a strong office environment, strong office employees. That is the main thing that we're going to talk about, but we're going to keep going. We're going to drill down into a little bit of this. And we're going to go the next thing that the successful companies have is their drivers trust them, which I know sounds like it's nothing, but it's everything. And you might all think that your drivers trust you, but do they? If the driver ever threatens to quit, they don't trust you to fix something. One quick measure. If you've ever had to hear, I'm going to park my truck in some faraway state, good luck finding it if I don't get this thing that I want, there's absolutely zero trust there. So those are examples. Hopefully those don't happen to you, but if they do, then you've got a trust issue. For example, some of the trust things are payroll is our world, so that's what we start with. The paychecks are accurate and predictable. They know what they're going to get. They know when they're going to get it. It explains to them what they have on it. They know they got paid for that $100 detention. It's the little things like that that build the trust that they can see. Oh yeah, I got that $100, or I got that extra stop money, or I got whatever I was supposed to get. Another way with driver trust is dispatch always has to be honest with them. They have to be able to rely on dispatch to tell them like it is. That's just the only way it works. I mean, again, I'm in Michigan, so I am subject to Dan Campbell, head coach of the Detroit Lions, and his talks all the time, and they're fantastic. Anytime he does a press conference, he's 100% honest. He doesn't want to say the things that he says when they lose, but he doesn't shy away from it either. So they're going to figure it out anyway. That's kind of part of it. The driver's going to figure out what the truth is. So you may as well be out in front of it. Another thing with driver trust is making sure that if there is a mistake, for example, on their payroll, if you forgot to pay them the detention, you get it fixed right away, as fast as you possibly can. Almost every Friday we get clients that call us and say, oh, we forgot this thing. We've had a couple of them this morning already. I'm recording this on Friday the 21st. And we same day paid them so that those drivers are made whole by the end of the day. That's and so we've already communicated that to the client who's talked to their drivers. Everybody will get what they're supposed to get, which is what we want to have happen. Another way to build trust is transparency. Transparency always builds trust. I hate to use the word transparency right now because I'm seeing a lot in political things, and that's not really transparency. I'm talking about real transparency, talking about showing your math. Uh, when when they're showing them their pay, show them how you got there. You got paid 50 cents a mile for these miles. You got an extra $100 for detention. You got $25 for an extra stop, something like that. Make the math easy to understand. Show it to them. They can recompute it themselves if they want. It goes a long way, because then if there is a problem, if that $100 for detention should have been 150, you can talk to the driver about it and you guys can reconcile. You know exactly what the problem is. It's not the driver being upset because they think they got short paid by $50 when they actually really did get short paid by $50. But you know exactly that. Oh, it's $50 in detention, so now we know what we have to do with it to fix it. And then you're right at the root of the matter instead of dancing around and the you always and you never, all that kind of stuff. So, in the communication between the driver and anybody in the office is direct and it's calm and it's human. That driver's on the road delivering the product for you. They don't have the time to sit and deal with all this. And so they might sound upset with you at first because they don't trust you right away, but you can earn that trust by keeping it calm, understanding their situation. They're trying to feed their families just like I am, just like you are, and working towards a solution instead of blowing up at them. And you always complain or whatever. I'm just saying those things happen, unfortunately, in trucking companies, and it's sad. And the tie-in with this is it's really hard, if not impossible, to build driver trust without culture, because the culture is the thing that's going to build the driver trust. Your mission, your mindsets, what I like to call them. You can call them community and boundaries. You can call them anything you want. I don't care. It's going to show up in every conversation. If you're doing it right, they're going to feel the mindsets in everything you do. So now we've talked about mission and mindsets. We've talked about driver trust. We're going to move into strategy. Successful fleets think ahead. They're not surprised by everything. Now, when I talked about walking into a trucking office, and it looks like it's an active tornado drill, yeah, that's not the way it's supposed to be. You should be able to anticipate things. You should be able to plan things. And the more you plan for things, the more you can deal with it when the plan doesn't work exactly as you hope. There's always going to be surprises. I understand that too. I'm not talking about budgeting your fuel spend for 2028 when I don't know what the fuel prices are. I'm talking about, here's what we expect to happen this week. We're going to take these loads and we're going to do these things, and we're not booking loads at the very last second, and we're not, trying to find a driver at the very last second. We're working ahead, both in dispatch, but in like cash flow forecasting. We know what we're going to get paid for this week. We know what loads we're going to do this week, so we know, if you use a factoring company, you can know what you're going to get paid. You know what your payroll is going to be. I'm not talking about an annual budget. I suggest that's a good idea. Just a budget for this week. I know what my fuel card spend is going to be this week. I know what repair bills I've got this week that I've got to pay. I'm out in front of it. They know their cost per mile. They know break even things. They know what they need to do to be successful. They know what successful weeks look like. And so then you can prepare for good things instead of reacting to bad things. You can prepare for, oh, what if one of my customers has 10 extra loads? Maybe I can take those, or I can book them, or I can move them to my brokerage, things like that. Instead of working from behind, you're working ahead. It's so much easier. It's not, I think of it like interest. You can either get paid interest from the bank, or you can pay interest to the bank if you have money in there or you owe them money, but it's even more so. Just knowing this is what we're going to do this week. These are the drivers that are off. This is what's going on. The struggling fleets don't do any of this stuff, and they run from fire to fire. And there's no margin and there's no calm. Again, it doesn't have to be, like a spa music and all that stuff in the background. I think, or like, what's the game? Shoot, I just lost the name of it. Where you build the stuff. Oh, shoot, my kids used to play it. Anyway, it always sounded like spa music in the background. It doesn't have to be that. But it can be. You can walk in and feel like everybody knows what they're doing and they're not just reacting to the thing that just jumped out at them today out of nowhere. That kind of leads to the next part, which is a clean back office is a clean operation. Organization and strategy from the leadership and from the operations can lead to organization in your back office. For example, organizing your payroll data well. I'm going to start with that because I'm a payroll guy. If the driver's owed $100 in detention, it should be marked off as approved in the load in real time by the dispatcher or whoever has the authority to approve it. The driver's owed $100 in detention, it should be marked off as approved in the load in real time by the dispatcher or whoever has the authority to approve it. Making your payroll person run around to try and get approvals on detention or something, you could have handled it ahead of time back when you remembered what the load had going on. Clear dispatch notes, things like that too. Make sure you add this for the driver, deduct this from the driver, or just in general dispatch notes. Receipts handled right away, settlement details that make sense. Your whole process of invoicing is almost automatic and invoice right away. You never have a backlog of invoices. You don't have a bunch of backlog of work that you have to do. You get that done, everything else gets easier. You need to do those other things first, but all these things kind of lead to the next things. And so with a clean back office, you can spend your time on the things that really impact you. You can spend your time recruiting better drivers or adding another owner operator, however you choose to run your operation. But if you have to sit and worry about, oh, did we invoice that? Oh, did we pay that? Oh, did we do this? Because we didn't have a system for it. You're spending your time wondering all that stuff. And that leads to the stress, which stops you from thinking ahead, which stops you from, building driver trust, which, all these things, it just works back out. So you got to do it all. You need to be on top of your billing. You need to be on top of your settlements all the time. My recommendation is you do them both at the same time. You settle the driver and invoice the load, one invoice at a time, one load at a time, and then compile all of that settlement detail into your payroll. I can go into more details another day. I don't want to gum up this episode with it, but that's the way to do it. But if you have a calm back office as well, everything else gets easier. You just feel the temperature in the room between operations being a little more forward thinking and the back office being organized. Everything seems easier. The last main point here is you got to know your numbers. You don't have to be an accountant, just by the way, to run a successful trucking company. But you do need to understand what your numbers mean. You need to know your cost per mile. You need to know which loads make you money. You should refuse non-profitable loads as much as you can. When I say load, I really mean round trip, because, for example, we're in West Michigan. Anybody can take a load to New Jersey and make money, but almost nobody's going to take a load back from New Jersey making money. So you have to work that round trip out. Figure all that kind of stuff out. You need to know your fixed versus your variable expenses. The fixed expenses are, we don't run anything all month. How much money's going out the door? That's your fixed expenses. That's going to be your truck payments, might be your insurance, things like that. You should know your driver payrolls or percent of your revenue, and you should watch that goes up and down. One of the mistakes that I see people make is when they pay a driver percentage of revenue, they do it on the gross revenue. They don't take out an implied fuel surcharge. So if diesel fuel goes up $1 a gallon, they just got a 25 or 30 cent or raise. That's crazy. Now the fuel's got to be subtracted out of that. And how to spot non-profitable trucks. Those are numbers you got to know. I need to get this much margin from a truck. I need the truck to basically contribute this much to the company to cover the overhead every single month. And if it's not doing it, we got to figure it out. We either got to get rid of the truck or make changes, whatever we have to do to make that truck profitable. You can avoid these numbers, but again, you're going to end up never thinking ahead because you don't know what you're thinking about. And so you really want to do this. This is where successful fleets know this stuff and they act on it, and they make changes when they have to make changes to make sure that the trucks are profitable as much as they can be. And this is where culture becomes action. We got to own that this truck isn't doing well. So let's fix it. These patterns we've talked about today are not magic. They're not reserved for the biggest fleets. They're habits, simple, consistent habits. And the good news is every one of them is something you can start doing today. A lot of people say success leaves clues. These are the ones that I see over and over again. The companies that know who they are, know the driver they want, are unwilling to hire a driver that doesn't fit what they want to do. If you just start with that, you're going to be fantastic. Everything else will get easier from there. Because if you think about it, where's your headache time when you're running your trucking company? I'll bet it's in some sort of driver management issue or maintenance management issue. It's just where it lives. And so if you can just hire the right drivers and you can be the right company as well, like you can't, the drivers that are the right drivers for you will only stay if you honor the cultural things that we talked about. If you put them on a piece of paper or put them on a t-shirt or have them on the sign on your door and do nothing with them, and that's all they do is sit there, it's worthless. It's actually worse than worth. It's negative worth because you're going to hire these people and they're all going to quit. And so if you have these values or mindsets or whatever you want to call them, and you're still churning people, then you really don't have the mindsets. That's hard truth. I'm rooting for you, but the evidence is right in front of you. If you want to build some of these habits, especially around payroll, reach out to us at Superior Trucking Payroll Service. We help fleets of every size run smoother, stay compliant, keep drivers happy. If you've got a question about any of this, man, I'd love it if you reached out to me. I'd love to see you succeed. It would be great. We'll interview you for a podcast in the future about how you turned it around. I want to hear that story. I think it'd be incredible, and I think it'd be great for the listeners to hear. Also, if you find this podcast to be helpful, we'd love it if you would like it, if you would review it positively, of course, and if you'd share it with your friends and say, hey, we found somebody that talks about some random weird things about trucking that other people don't talk about. Until then, happy Thanksgiving if you're listening to this before or on Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you next.